Yo, what is going on? I'm Marcus. I appreciate y'all for tuning in this Monday, and especially, hey, y'all keep continuing to tune in. I'm greatly appreciative of your support. It's been a long day, so I'm gonna try to make sure I don't stay on here too long because, hey, Raw is on Netflix, so I got to go and see the Tribal Chief. Hey, what's going on? How are you doing? And so, like I was saying, what's going on, Maddie? Shout out to you. I'm trying to find. I rearranged some stuff, so definitely got to give you a round of applause. But yeah, we're going to talk about an interesting lawsuit that's going on today. 2025 is starting out with a lot of drama. As always, if you get some value out of this content, like, subscribe, comment, share, all of that good stuff. Licensed attorney, not your attorney. This is infotainment purposes as I give my opinion and takes on topics and current events. And this topic is about a lawsuit at a Fox Sports One, FS1, Fox Sport Network. And it's a big deal because it names some pretty powerful people in the industry. $1.5 million for some yams is crazy. Like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, yo, that's $1.5 million is an absurd amount of money to offer somebody for some cheek clappage. But, hey, allegedly, hypothetically, but we'll dive into the lawsuit. I will tell you, I actually checked out a few good YouTube channels, a few good podcasts for in persons who were previously employed with FS1. Jason Whitlock, he had a really good live stream. I know everybody don't like to hear Jason Whitlock rock, but he had a really good live stream or video he put out because he was previously employed at FS1. And Marcellus Wiley as well had a good one. So if you get a chance, make sure you go check out their channels. We're going to go through this lawsuit. It's 42 pages. We're not going to go through it page by page. We're going to deal with the facts. There's a few things I want to point out that just from a legal standpoint, as soon as I saw that, I had some interesting questions on it, and then we'll jump into it. So let's go ahead, cue up the complaint so we can dive into it. All right. So right now, let's see. Wrong document up. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I thought I had the. All right. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. All right. We do got to talk about the document I had on the screen, but not first. Let's go ahead and jump into the lawsuit first. I had the wrong document up, but now I got it squared away. All right, so we can see it. So, first thing we got to note, this is interesting because all the previous cases that we have covered related to freak off type of content going on in the entertainment industry or workplace or allegedly hypothetically, they normally have been federal lawsuits. This one is interesting because this is a state lawsuit filed in the county of Los Angeles County, Superior Court of the state of California. Now, this one is interesting because it's a class action complaint along with an individual complaint. So that jumped out to me. Plaintiff is Nushin Faraji, who is a hairstylist with FS1. Defendants are various Fox entities, Fox Corporations, Fox Sports Holding, Fox Sports One LLC. Then they also have Charlie Dixon, Skip Bayless, and Joy Taylor are named as individual defendants. Now, this is interesting. There's a class action lawsuit and an individual complaint. So the class action complaint, you have failure to pay minimum wages, failure to pay overtime, failure to reimburse business expenses, failure to pay all wages upon separation, failure to furnish accurate itemized wage statements, unfair, unlawful, or fraudulent business practices. Now, I thought this class action was interesting to talk about briefly because in order to file a class action lawsuit, you actually have to certify a class. That means you have to have sufficient facts that there are similarly situated persons in that exact same situation. You have to certify a class. If you can't certify a class, you're not going to bring a successful class action lawsuit. So I did want to look up what does it take to certify a class in the state of California. Generally, it's kind of the same generally, but I was like, let's look at that specifically for California so we can see what does it take to certify a class for those class action claims. Let's go ahead and pull it up. All right. To establish a class in California, meaning to certify a class action lawsuit, you must file a lawsuit in court that demonstrates that a group of people share a community of interest by providing that the class is numerous, there are common questions of law and fact, the class representative's claims are typical of the class, they can adequately represent the class, and a class action is the best way to resolve the litigation. This is typically done by filing a motion for a class certification with the court. Key points in California: you got to identify the class, clearly define a group of people who have been affected by the same issue and constitute a class. Commonality: show that the class members share a significant common question of law or fact. Typicality: prove that the claims of the class representatives are typical of the claims of the entire class. Adequate representation: demonstrate that the class representatives are capable of adequately representing the interests of the entire class. The class must be large enough that individual lawsuits would be impractical. So a lot of people were getting screwed on the finance side of the game if they were able to certify a class. Long story short, superiority: argue that the class action is the best way to resolve the claim of the class members compared to individual lawsuits. So I thought that that was interesting because I wanted to point out and separate the things that are class actions means that allegedly, hypothetically, a lot of people got screwed over if the court was inclined to certify a class versus the individual complaints. I thought that was something pertinent, and I just wanted to point and break that out. All right, let's see. These are the persons, the parties, the corporate entities. We talked about it. Summary of the action: Ms. Faraji brings forth this action because for over a decade at Fox, she was forced to endure misogynistic, racist, and uh, workplace where executives and the talent were allowed to physically and verbally abuse workers with impunity. Ms. Faraji and others came forward to report wrongdoing. Instead of addressing their concerns, Fox retaliated against them, while the perpetrators and those who protected them were promoted. This case thus represents yet another in a long line of cases chronicling the toxic culture at Fox, marked by bad faith promises and repeated failures to address poisonous and entrenched patriarchy. Ms. Faraji also brings forth a claim action on behalf of herself and Fox's current and former non-exempt hourly employees. This is what we talked about with the class certification, where she says that, hey, there were a lot of people Fox wasn't paying minimum wage, Fox weren't paying overtime, failing to reimburse our expenses, fail to pay all wages upon separation, and knowingly and intentionally failing to furnish accurate itemized wage statements. So those are some of the things that are hashed out, just looking at the individual things that she's bringing versus looking at the things that she's bringing regarding and applying to the whole class. Now, next up, let me see. We're going to skip venue and jurisdiction. That's just making sure that this is the right court in the right place to bring the lawsuit. The parties: Ms. Faraji was a resident of Los Angeles, California for all times relevant during the events of this case. She was employed at Fox as a hairstylist on a part-time basis from approximately 2012 to 2016 and on a full-time basis from approximately 2016 to August 2024. Defendants: Fox Corporations, Delaware Corporations, LLC Holding. They had revenue of 13, what is that? Hundreds, thousands, million, $13 billion and a net income of $1.5 billion for the year ending in June 2024. Defendant Charlie Dixon is the executive vice president of content for FS1's Fox flagship multi-sport national network, overseeing all content and production on the network. Mr. Dixon was in July 2016 the very first significant hiring of former Fox Sports president Jamie Horowitz. Mr. Horowitz, who was terminated from Fox due to reports of sexual harassment. At all relevant times, Mr. Dixon was an agent of Fox and had the authority to make decisions impacting Ms. Faraji's employment. Upon information and belief, Mr. Dixon is a resident of the state of California. Defendant Skip Bayless is a sports columnist, commentator, and television personality who worked on his Fox show Skip and Shannon Undisputed from 2016 to August of 2024. In March of 2021, Mr. Bayless signed a 4-year, $32 million contract with Fox. That's crazy. That's like basketball player bread. At all relevant times, Mr. Bayless was an agent of Fox and had the authority to make decisions impacting Mrs. Faraji's employment. Upon information and belief, Mr. Bayless is a resident of the state of California. Defendant Joy Taylor is a media personality, which is interesting that she's a defendant. I didn't read this clearly. I didn't read it. I was like 42 pages. But we could get to the meat of the potatoes of this on the actual live stream. We're not gonna waste our time diving into all of this stuff prematurely. Just your boy had to be on the clock today, so it is what it is. All right, let's go ahead and jump back in. It says, oh man, I just jacked that up. All right. I got this screen set up a little bit different. Okay, defendant Joy Taylor is a media personality and television host for Fox. She co-hosts the show Speak on FS1 at all relevant times. Ms. Taylor was an agent of Fox and had the authority to make decisions impacting Mrs. Faraji's employment. Upon information and belief, Ms. Taylor is a resident of the state of California. Then they named some other people while not currently named as defendants. Mark Silverman, president and COO of Fox Sports. Eric Shanks, CEO, executive producer of Fox Sports, may become named defendants based upon discovery yet to be added. So they just reserving the right to throw other people in there if they did some wrongdoing. Now, Ms. Faraji is ignorant of the true names, capacities, relationship, and extent of participation in the conduct herein alleged of the defendants sued herein as DOES 1 through 25, but informed and believes and thereon alleges that said defendants are illegally responsible for the wrongdoing conduct alleged herein. These are all the other people who they may name at a later date who actually did something wrong. So, all right, now we have the meat and potatoes, okay? And I'm going to just be honest. I'm going to just be honest. $1.5 million, if I don't know what the hairstylists make, but I see a claim in here for failure to pay minimum wage and reimbursement. So it seems like they were janky with the money. So, hey, this is all alleged. This is just a complaint. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But if we look at these facts and if these facts are found to be true, you got to give Miss Faraji a certain amount of credit to be the hairstylist on this show. She's not making the $34 million that all the other hosts and everybody else is making, all the big time money. And she actually turned down the $1.5 million. A lot of people would have been like, man, it's 1.5. Oh man, I don't know. They'd have looked at their salary, looked at the 1.5 offer. I'm just saying, we gotta give her a round of applause. If these facts are found to be true, hey, she walked away from a $1.5 million bag that a lot of people probably would not have walked away from. Let's just be honest. And it is what it is. All right, let's get into the facts. All right. Miss Faraji was hired to work at Fox One. In 2003, Miss Faraji began to work at Jose Eber Hair Salon, a sophisticated salon providing cutting-edge styling and coloring techniques, blah, blah, blah. Around 2010, Miss Faraji was introduced by a co-worker at the salon to Gail Bierman, the former president and entertainment of Fox Broadcasting Company, and Dana Walden, the former CEO of Fox Television Group. Shortly thereafter, Miss Faraji began accompanying the co-workers to do Miss Walden and Miss Berman's hair at their homes and on the premises of Fox. Over time, Miss Faraji co-workers became busy with other clients. He sent Miss Faraji on her own to do their hair at their homes and on the premise of Fox. So, hey, started out as a hairdresser. She did what, hey, everybody should do. She had some contacts, some clients. She used those clients and connects to become their kind of personal hairstylist on and off the clock in their personal capacity and in the workplace. Hey, that's a good way to use your connections. In approximately 2012, a makeup stylist who would do Miss Walden and Miss Berman's makeup when Miss Faraji worked on their hair, recommended Miss Faraji for a position at Fox. Fox then hired her as a part-time employee. When hired, Miss Faraji was asked to bring her own tools to work. She would later discover that all her co-workers received a kit fee for bringing their own tools. However, she herself would not receive a kit fee until 2019. All right. So in 2012, she started there and she was using all her own supplies to do these folks' hair. And all the other makeup artists got kit fees. So according to this, she's alleging that she's been getting finessed on the finesse side of the game early on when this whole thing started, just from a monetary standpoint, which is crazy. I don't know what the kit fee is, but I mean, this is Fox Network and y'all making all this damn money. I don't know if these allegations are true. That's extremely petty. All right. However, she herself would not receive a kit fee until 2019. So from 2012 2019, she was employed, but she was using all her supplies to do these persons' hair. Approximately 7 years after she started working for Fox. That's cheap as hell. Like, soon as I'd have saw some shit like that, I would have left. I was like, if y'all being cheap with this, you know they're gonna be stingy with everything else. That's just like a red flag if that's true. All right. In addition, while Miss Faraji was a hairstylist, her supervisor, Gina Pretori, also required that she do the job duties of a barber. When Mr. Faraji complained to her union, they told her that while cutting hair was not in her contract, Miss Perotti was known to be difficult and it would be best just to comply with the request accordingly. Throughout her tenure, Mr. Faraji both styled and cut hair. Her union is terrible. The union supposed to be there to fight with you for you. You actually pay the union every check. Like if you work and you're part of a union and you get your check and you're like, damn, every 2 weeks you pay a union fee. And the whole point of paying that fee is for them to fight on your behalf when there's something that's unjust being done. And the union was like, yeah, that's not in your contract, so you're not required to do it, but just don't rock the boat and just keep going over there and do it. That's actually kind of crazy. These are just, I mean, maybe this is just me, but these are red flags where I would have been like, y'all being cheap as hell with the supplies for me to do y'all hair as the hairstylist. Y'all making me cut hair when I'm not supposed to be cutting hair and it's not in my contract. And my union, like, yeah, we hear your complaint and it's a it's a viable complaint, but just get along to get along. Like, nah, like all of those are red flags that you probably should have got the hell out of Dodge. I understand people need their job, but that's a big red flag. If you're at a company and they being cheap and petty with some little shit, they probably gonna be cheap and petty with some big shit. That's always been my take when it comes to small things like that that really shouldn't be issued. All right, here we get into the juicy part. I see a highlight of talking about some cheek clapping. So we're gonna dive into this right here. Mr. Dixon uh, gave Miss Taylor undisputed as a reward for having with him. On approximately March 2016, Miss Faraji met Miss Taylor, an aspiring sports personality that had recently moved from Miami to Los Angeles for the opportunity, of airtime at Fox. At this time, Miss Taylor did not have a regular position, but would fill in on a day-to-day basis when talent was sick or otherwise missed time. I actually should reach out because I got a homegirl who did a couple of episodes of Undisputed as a moderator, I guess is what the position was. Now I got questions. I don't know. I should reach out to her. Miss Taylor told Miss Faraji that she was recently wed, but her husband remained in Miami and that she was lonely in Los Angeles. Miss Taylor then befriended Miss Faraji. Okay, I mean, that lonely, yes, significant other hundreds of thousands of miles away. That sounds fair. In approximately May of 2016, Miss Taylor asked Miss Faraji to meet for drinks in Santa Monica. When Miss Faraji arrived, she found Miss Taylor with it should be Mrs. Taylor. Well, Miss Taylor, I guess I don't know. She probably still not married after this shit. But okay. When Miss Faraji arrived, she found Miss Taylor with an older man, Fox Sports Executive Vice President of Content, Mr. Dixon. As Executive Vice President, Mr. Dixon is responsible for overseeing all content and production on FS1. Miss Faraji, however, did not know Mr. Dixon. Is the new person? I don't know. Like, all right, you got the hairdresser, you got Joy Taylor, allegedly, uh, coming dressed a little provocative with the executive. I don't know. That's kind of wild, and it's actually really wild to it's one thing to have that meeting with the talent, even though that could be wild. But I could see if like the content guy was talking to a lady who sometimes is co-host and maybe another co-host. But it's weird to have the executive vice president, the content, a content, uh, a woman who provides content who's an on-air personality. Then the hair and makeup girl is kind of wild because it doesn't fit in with person who make decisions on content, a person who contributes as an on-air personality to the content, hairdresser, and makeup. That's actually kind of wild. It actually sounds like if it's true, I'm just saying that sounds like some crazy proposition stuff could be going on. Like, hey, trust me, I gotta. When you see these crazy situations like this, is always some odd, awkward moment going on. And trust me, I've been to conferences, and normally I've been to a conference before, and it was like this weird ass older couple, and it was like a guy, and we just talking work stuff. Everybody there is professionals, and I guess he brought his wife there, and it was like guy, his wife, and sure enough, there's like, oh, afterwards we're gonna just go from this conference and go across to the bar. They went and got all dolled up and jazzed up and everything, and I was like, that's weird. And as we sitting there having a conversation, it was giving like weird vibes. It was giving weird vibes. It was a really crazy story. And I was like, nah, bro, I'm good. I was like, nah, I'm good. But it's never the guy who would try to initiate a thing. Like it was like the guy's wife who was like, hey, like because if a guy talk to another guy, try to initiate something, he might get punched in the face. It'll be kind of wild. So this is giving those crazy type of vibes. Content executive, a content contributor who's an on-air personality, and then they meeting with the hairstylist. That just sound kind of wild. I don't know. To me, that sound a little bit wild. But let's go ahead. It looks like some a proposition scenario is trying to develop here. But let's see how this plays out. Let's jump back into it. Okay. All right. So she didn't. Mr. Faraji, however, did not know Mr. Dixon. When Mr. Dixon went to buy them another round of spicy margaritas, Miss Faraji asked who he was. Miss Taylor responded that he was just a friend. Following that night, whenever Miss Faraji would meet with Miss Taylor for drinks or food, Mr. Dixon would either arrive with Miss Taylor or show up later that night and leave with Miss Taylor. He would always buy rounds of drinks and or food. From their body language, Miss Faraji suspected that the pair were having an intimate relationship with each other. And although this concerned Miss Faraji, as she knew Miss Taylor was recently married, Miss Faraji kept her opinions to herself. Hey, it don't concern you. That's a fair point. I do have a question because this hairstylist is clearly not making the money that everybody else is. And so she went out with these people. I'm assuming that they always paid the bill because as much as it sounded like, hey, they went out a lot. Let's see, they bought them another rounds. Whenever Miss Faraji would meet with Miss Taylor for food or drinks, Mr. Dixon would arrive. So, okay, it looked like every time they went out, he was the one who was flipping the bill for this. He would always buy rounds of drinks and the food from their body language. Okay, because I about to say, I know she wasn't buying it because she's saying they weren't paying minimum wage in the class action lawsuit. So she couldn't have been making no damn money compared to what the rest of these yahoos were probably making. All right, so let's go ahead, jump back into this lawsuit. All right, in approximately June of 2016, while at work, Miss Faraji noticed Mr. Dixon in the elevator. Surprised by this coincidence, Miss Faraji found Miss Taylor and told her excitedly, the guy who always buys out drinks was in the elevator. Miss Taylor quickly silenced Miss Faraji, explaining who he was. Miss Faraji became alarmed and warned Miss Taylor that such a relationship was unsafe. Miss Taylor told her not to worry about it. Miss Faraji continued to be friends with Miss Taylor, but tried to distance herself as she considered the situation dangerous as well as morally wrong, as Miss Taylor and Mr. Dixon were both married. In approximately July 2016, word spread amongst Fox employees about a new show that was going to be a big deal. It would star Mr. Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Mr. Sharp, it was known that Fox was looking for a woman with significant TV experience to also star. Therefore, it came as a surprise when Fox announced that Miss Taylor, who was a bartender and radio host in Miami with very little TV experience, would be the moderator on the new show, a sports debate program with Skip and Shannon called Undisputed. Typically, I don't know. Y'all let me know. I don't know if y'all watch these sports debate shows, but typically these sports debate shows, the formula is normally what you see is a bunch of guys who are former athletes or columnists, and then they'll throw a very nice looking woman somewhere on the stage in the middle or whatever to be a moderator. That's the formula. So again, all allegations, this is just a complaint. But if these facts are true, that is a big deal from somebody to go with no television experience, being a bartender to a radio personality, and then jumping on one of the network's most prominent new shows that are going to be up. That is a little out of character. I will tell you, I watched Jason Whitlock talk about this because he was employed at Fox at some time, and he had a show, the show that she actually hosts, that she's on with Emmanuel Acho. It was called Speak, and he was the lead on that show. And he talked about a scenario where he was getting pressure from above to have Joy Taylor as the moderator on his show. And he was like, he didn't want her. He was like, they tried it, it didn't work. He didn't like it. He wanted to bring in someone else. It was another woman who had more experience, was older, and he was like, Fox was like, nah, bro, that ain't it. We need somebody. I think he said the person he wanted to bring on was probably around his age at the time. So you're talking 45 to 50. It was a woman who had significant television experience, and they did a trial with both of them. They did a trial with Joy Taylor. They did one with what was her name? Man, I can't recall her name at the time. But they did a trial show with both persons, and he thought it went better with the more experienced woman. But he said the higher ups was like, "Nah, bro, we need a younger, more vivacious, more attractive looking woman on the air to do this show." So again, these are allegations, but Jason Whitlock on his YouTube channel today talked about a similar situation where he felt like he was being forced to have Joy Taylor serve as a moderator on his show. So, hey, again, these are allegations, but that's somebody who had an actual show on the network talking about a situation that appears to be kind of analogous to what we're seeing right here. Bartender, radio experience, no television experience. She's plugged as the moderator on the network's biggest new show. All right. Mr. Bayless later disclosed to Miss Faraji that he did not want Miss Taylor on the show, but Mr. Dixon was adamant that Miss Taylor should star. That's what she's saying that Skip said is the same thing that Jason Whitlock said with regard to his show. At first, Mr. Dixon arranged a dinner between Mr. Bayless and Miss Taylor, where she arrived in provocative clothing and acted in a provocative manner. You know what's crazy? I'm gonna tell you what's crazy. That sentence right there is crazy. Okay, Mr. Bayless later disclosed to Miss Faraji that he did not want Miss Taylor on the show, but Mr. Dixon, the content executive, was adamant that Miss Taylor should star. And this person is asserting that Mr. Dixon and Mr. Taylor had this relationship, that she her way to the top, allegedly. All right. But this sentence is wild. It says, at first, Mr. Dixon arranged a dinner between Mr. Bayless and Miss Taylor, where she arrived in provocative clothing and acted in a provocative manner. When that did not change Mr. Bayless' opinion of Miss Taylor, Mr. Dixon asked him to approve of her as a favor to him. Reluctantly, Mr. Bayless agreed to do so as a favor to his friend. I'm interested to know, how did she know that this occurred? It's one of two ways that she knows this occurred. I think it's the latter and not the former. The first way, that how would she know that this meeting occurred? How the hell would she know? It doesn't say that they had dinner and I was at the dinner. So I guess way number one, if she was personally there to observe it because she was invited to the dinner, again, that would be a little bit weird to have the executive VP of content, Skip Bayless, the star of your newest show that's going to be a big deal, and then the woman who you want to be the moderator of the show, and let's bring the hairstylist along. That it doesn't read as if she was actually there. So I'm assuming from reading this, the reason that she knows that this occurred is because it was probably told to her by Miss Taylor. Joy Taylor probably told her that this happened. That's the only way she could possibly know, because if she wasn't told, she would have had to have been there. We know Skip Bayless, maybe Skip told her. Somebody had to have told her that this happened. I would assume that it was probably Joy Taylor, because her and Joy appear to have some remnants of what is considered a friendship. But I think that's interesting. All right. So Skip didn't want Joy, but he agreed to, because Dixon was like, do it, do it, do it as a favor to me. Around August of 2016, Miss Faraji attended a dinner with Miss Taylor and her husband and Mr. Dixon and his wife. It's just weird to keep having that third wheel. That's kind of wild. I don't know. Maybe they was assuming that some FO stuff would go down as a result, but it's just kind of wild to have everybody there, even when Joyce Taylor's husband is there, along with the spouse of the. But maybe that's a common thing. Maybe that's a common thing. They are part of the Hollywood public persona, multimillionaire. So maybe that's just the norm, how it goes. All right, Miss Faraji attended a dinner with Miss Taylor and her husband, and Miss Dixon and his wife. During the dinner, Miss Taylor's husband became suspicious that Miss Taylor and Mr. Dixon were having a relationship. Soon after the dinner, Miss Taylor's husband found evidence of the inappropriate relationship and divorced Miss Taylor. In approximately September of 2016, Undisputed started. Miss Taylor requested Miss Faraji to do her hair. In approximately November of 2016, after not allowing anyone to touch his hair, Mr. Bayless also requested Miss Faraji to do his hair. All right. So I don't know. They keep inviting this hairstylist to places that seem out of pocket. It could be for purposes of, hey, this is part of the package. This could be a normal thing in Hollywood. They could just be, I don't know. It's weird. It seems like, I don't know why they holding her out there as like this weird third string. It's one thing to have like everybody who work at Fox, and then if you want to bring the hairstylist, even though that's weird to do so, but it seemed extra weird when you got executive spouse, potential moderator spouse, hairstylist. It's given a 1980s intro to some erotic behavior movie type of type of setup. All right. On January 14th, 2017, Miss Taylor had her birthday party at Pearl's rooftop in West Hollywood. Miss Faraji and other Fox employees who were invited attended, as it was part of their job duties to appease talent. And as a birthday party, it is an important event. As usual, Miss Dixon was heavily drinking, buying drinks for everyone on the Fox credit card, and blustering that everything purchased was on Fox's dime. As Miss Faraji was standing near the bar facing the crowd, Mr. Dixon approached her. He asked the bartender for a drink and then placed his arm on Miss Faraji's lower back. He asked how she was doing, if she was having fun, and if she wanted a tequila shot. Miss Faraji felt very uncomfortable by his unsolicited touching and responded, "No, thank you." Mr. Dixon then moved his hand lower and started rubbing her body and grabbing her cheeks. Miss Faraji was mortified, but quickly thought to fake an incoming call to escape from the situation. Miss Faraji did not know who to turn to, but as she knew Miss Taylor was intimate with Mr. Dixon, she turned to her. That was, I don't know if that was a, I don't know. Maybe she really thought that they were, uh, right. What's good? This is going to get crazy. I agree. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't think that she was probably the best person to turn to. The executive, then you got the moderator to the show, Joy Taylor, then you got the hairstylist, then the exec, and you know that they have a relationship as the hairstylist. Then the executive inappropriately touches the hairstylist, allegedly, and your first thought is to go to Miss Taylor, who she has a relationship with the executive. And according to you, and what we're reading in this is her way to the top. Like, I don't know. Like, you probably could have went to it. I don't know. It's difficult. Maybe she felt some level of comfort there. I don't know, because they had that relationship. It probably would have given, if it probably would have given some persons in that position cause to pause because of that relationship that Joy Taylor had with the executive. All right, let's go ahead and jump back into this because I'm trying to get to the $1.5 million. All right. So Miss Faraji did not know who to turn to, but she knew that Miss Taylor was in an intimate relationship with Mr. Dixon. She turned to her. Surprisingly, Miss Taylor responded, "Get over it," and explained that she herself only had the job because of Mr. Dixon, and that Miss Faraji only had her job because Miss Taylor requested her. She warned that Mr. Dixon could take both away. Miss Faraji was terrified and then turned to her co-worker, Anonymous, to discuss the situation. Anonymous responded that Mr. Dixon was disgusting, that the entire situation was sick, but that it wasn't shocking given Fox's culture, and that Miss Faraji should remain quiet if she wanted to keep her job. As a single mother who needed a job to support her son, Miss Faraji had no choice but to remain silent. Now, I do believe that part to be accurate because I always tell a story on this channel where I had employment. I was ultimately terminated from that job. It was a whole crazy whistleblower thing, and they were doing something wrong. And I remember I went to like older cats and was like, "Yo, am I wilding? What do you think about this?" And literally across the board, if everybody except for one person, everybody, I talked to maybe a handful of people who were older people who had years of experience over me in that job arena in itself because I wanted to make sure I wasn't, maybe it wasn't, maybe they were doing the right thing. Literally, everybody was like, keep your head down and keep moving forward. Don't rock the boat. It was one person who was like, nah, that's wrong. Like, nah, yeah, it was only one person. So, hey, these was all older folks who were minorities, and literally like 99% of them were like, don't rock the boat. Y'all young kids always want to come and shake things up. And I was like, nah, but I'm pretty positive this is wrong. And if you even confirming that is wrong, you just like don't say nothing, just do it anyway. Like, nah, bro, I'm not built like that. But that type of stuff does happen. All right, as a single mother who needed a job to support her son, Miss Faraji had no choice but to remain silent. And that's another fact too. As a hairstylist, she probably not making no bread like that. So keeping her job could have been a very, very important factor in all of this. Whereas me, I was like, I'm a young black attorney. I find something. I was like, I find something. Y'all do what y'all want to do. All right. 7 years later, in 2023, Miss Pretoria told Miss Faraji that she did not like her or anything about Undisputed. Miss Pretoria explained that she had already scheduled someone for hair on Undisputed when Mr. Dixon called her and told her that she must put Miss Faraji on Undisputed full time. So, okay, think about this. Years later, so it appears to be, y'all let me know if this is true, but we had a big lapse in time in this entire fact pattern. She says 7 years later. So 7 years later, advances advances were made by the executive. She got the heck out of Dodge, faked the phone call. She told Joy Taylor. Joy Taylor was like, yo, this dude giving everybody jobs and you only here because I want you here. So keep it up. 7 years later, now the person who brought her on essentially is saying that, yo, I don't want you on Undisputed. But this guy, the executive, is coming down saying, yo, put her on Undisputed. I'm going to assume that the request for her to be on Undisputed is 100% because of Joy Taylor, because this guy has no incentive to do anything. She, according to this, hasn't done anything intimate with this guy, so she got no uh, cheek leverage over him. So Joy Taylor is probably allegedly still with this guy. She requested this woman, and as a favor to Joy Taylor, he's like, yo, Miss Pretoria, put her on Undisputed because that's where she gonna go. Because Joy is like, that's what she wanted. That's what's going on right here when you look at these facts and you can see what's going on. All right, she already scheduled someone for hair on Undisputed when Mr. Dixon called and told her that she must put Miss Faraji on Undisputed full time. Miss Peretti told Miss Faraji, I didn't like that. That's not how things should be done. Miss Faraji was stunned and devastated as she prided herself on her work and earning her accolades. Later that day, while working about her career, she was angry with Miss Peretti succumbed to Mr. Dixon's request as it gave Mr. Dixon the feeling that he could grope her for giving her a job. Mr. Dixon gets rid of a female talent member for refusing to with him. Several years into Miss Faraji's tenure on Fox, see, I'm interested. When did this occur? Because we had this big time jump. We had this big time jump from on January 2017, the birthday party. Then paragraph 31, 7 years later in 2023. Then now it says several years into Miss Faraji's tenure at Fox. This should. So I'm interested what year this occurred. It had to have been before the 2023 stuff, clearly. Very early on, 2016, 2017, 2018, I'm assuming, because of the way this written. Several years into Miss Faraji's tenure on Fox, a female talent member, Anonymous, hired Miss Faraji to do her hair at her house for an award show. Anonymous asked Miss Faraji to meet her for lunch first. There, Anonymous told Miss Faraji that she would no longer be with Fox, as Mr. Dixon told her that she would need to have clap cheeks with him if she wanted to renew her contract, but she had refused. Anonymous further conveyed that Miss Dixon was doing this to other women talent, that she would warn Miss Taylor to be careful, and a talk show host had recently reported Mr. Dixon. Following the lunch, Miss Faraji called Miss Taylor to convey what Anonymous had stated. Miss Taylor responded that no one gives a F about Anonymous or the talk show host who had reported Mr. Dixon. Miss Faraji later observed that Miss Taylor's remark appeared accurate as no actions were taken to address the concerns raised. If it was not already apparent, it became even more clear that Fox enabled high-ranking individuals to abuse their authority, exerting undue control over female talent and employees. Generally, as a general rule, this is a good time to take this is a good message that people get. Generally, as a rule of thumb, okay, as a rule of thumb, it's generally bad to clap cheeks with a person at your job. Generally bad, okay? Now, there's level of how bad the cheek clappage with the coworker can be. If it's a peer, someone who's equal to you, not as bad because no one is in a powerful position to be able to influence things one way or another. But if it's a position of a person who's a superior and a subordinate, big problem. Because I mean, one and hey, I get it. I'm sure hey, uh, guys, fellas, ladies, you probably see somebody, you see them every day, you interacting with them. They probably tell a couple corny jokes, you laugh, they probably look good. You probably think, I wonder what would be like. Peer level, it's not as bad because there's not an imbalance of power. If you got like, think about it, you got like two persons who work at UPS and they work in the stock room stocking packages and they clapping cheeks. Nobody gonna give a damn about that because they're peers. No one can really influence the other, you know. But if you got like the the person who drives the truck is clapping cheeks with uh the the program manager for external deliveries for the southern region of the state, imbalance of power. That person may can do some favors. That is going to be an absolute shit. So generally, you shouldn't eat at the same place because you'll get like salmonella or something. But peer to peer is normally not as risky because there's no imbalance of power. But when you got a subordinate and a superior, it's going to become a problem. Because most times what happens is the subordinate thinks that they're in a position of control because they have the power, they have the leverage, they have the influence, but they only have that until the subordinate uses the cheek clapping experience as leverage, and pretty much the superior could become could become the subordinate's bitch. It could work both ways, but it has a tendency to flip like that. So generally, bad idea across the board. All right, let's go ahead and jump back into this lawsuit. Y'all cool with it small like this, or y'all like to have it like that so y'all could read along if you so choose to do so. All right, so we left that it was if it was not apparent, it became even more apparently that Fox enabled high-ranking individuals to abuse their authority, exerting undue control over female talent and employees. Fear permeated the workplace as stories of mistreatment circulated. As one example, Mr. Dixon deliberately assigned a female talent member who had been harassed and reported it to a show set up to fail. When the show inevitably failed due to his sabotage, he used its failures as justification to terminate her employment. In another instance, a coworker who frequently cried in the hallway due to relentless harassment was fired just 1 week after reporting it. These repeated incidents reinforced an atmosphere where speaking up seemed futile and dangerous. That's crazy work to be. It's not bad a place got to be for you to just be in the hallway crying all the time. Now, these instances were reported, then they got terminated after, or they got placed on a shit show allegedly that was designed to fail. The first question you're gonna have, like me, is like, okay, well, why didn't anybody else bring any of these lawsuits? I'm gonna assume that these women probably sign an NDA agreement. That's normally the case. They get on, they sign an NDA agreement. And normally, here's the finesse with NDA agreements, just so y'all know. Trust me, I was offered an NDA and I was like, nah, bro, your boy not signing that. But it's two things. All right. So I'm terminating you for whatever the reason. Let's say a bogus reason is being alleged here. I terminate you for a bogus reason. And I'm like, hey, you'll get 2 weeks of pay and you have to go a Cobra. You got your health benefits for 2 weeks. Then after that, we'll pay you out for your leave and you kind of screwed. But if you sign this non-disclosure agreement, this is a big company. It's a private sector. So they probably giving out 6, 10, 12-month severance packages. You'll get paid for the next 12 months if you sign this non-disclosure agreement. Now, hey, I know it's rough out there. You're a single mother, you got a child to feed. So right here in front of you, you're gonna get 2 weeks of pay and your leave paid out. Or an alternative, if you sign this non-disclosure agreement, you'll get 12 months of pay and you'll have some comfort because you got mouths to feed. Which one you going to do? Most people are going to sign the non-disclosure agreement. I know I was in that situation, and they was like, HR kept calling me like, yo, they want to know if you're going to sign an NDA. I was like, they must think I'm a broke boy. They must think I live check to check. Fortunately, I wasn't living check to check. So I was like, man, I don't give a damn about that, because there's a legal consequence of signing that NDA on the money side of the game that we got to talk about. Now, when wrongdoers terminate people and say sign this NDA, it's stupid. I don't know why people have this belief that an NDA protects me from everything that was done. That's not true. An NDA doesn't protect against a person disclosing something that is illegal. Like, no, like, okay, you do some illegal, crazy stuff at work. You pay me out 12 months. I sign a non disclosure agreement. I can't talk about the illegal stuff that you did. Like, no, NDAs doesn't prevent a person from disclosing something that could be criminal, illegal, cause of action legally, things like that. So you can definitely, yeah, you can definitely sign an NDA, get your 12 months of pay, and still disclose what the wrongdoing was. But in those situations, what you give up, and I can't speak at this state level, but what you give up is the right to the compensatory recovery. So I use my scenario. Okay. I was working at a job. They were like, I was like, yo, I think y'all doing something that's like, it's not illegal, but it's a gross, is extreme stupidity and is grossly negligent. Y'all putting people in harm's way. And they was like, no, what we think is right. I'm like, no, it's wrong. I'm blowing the whistle, telling people. They're like, you know what? Your black ass gotta go. You in here rocking the boat. We've been doing it this way forever. Even though that's a sign of people who don't know what the hell they're doing. When people doing something wrong and they say we've been doing it this way forever, that means they don't know. They haven't known what they was doing for a long ass time. They hand me the NDA. I was like, how much y'all paying me out? I was like, nah, bro, I'm not signing that NDA. Had I signed that NDA, I could have still brought my grievance, but the maximum compensation I would have gotten, I've already received. It was whatever was the agreement in that NDA. Now, when I don't sign that NDA, okay, let's say it was 2 months of pay. I'm not signing that NDA. Screw y'all little 2 months of pay. Ain't nobody worried about that. I don't sign it. Now, when I bring, let's say, a whistleblower action, now my damages aren't limited to what the terms of that NDA was. So that's how an NDA works. When you sign it, you're limiting yourself to the monetary recovery noted in that agreement. Even though an NDA doesn't protect the person, it doesn't insulate you from potential criminal activity and certain civil exposure. So I don't know where a lot of wealthy people like just have them sign an NDA and then they can't talk about the crazy shit they did to you. Yes, they can. Certain things can breach an NDA. So that's just generally how NDAs work. They aren't these agreements that can overstand anything. Like, nah, that's just not how they work. So it's stupid to me that celebrities and wealthy people still use them as if they're going to provide them some ultimate protection once they sign it. Like, it's stupid. Now, a person could violate the NDA and subject themselves to some type of litigation, but if the secret they're holding is bigger than the damage of the litigation, no harm, no foul. I mean, it is what it is. All right, let's jump back in this lawsuit. All right. So, coworker frequently cried in the hallway due to relentless, inappropriate harassment, and she was fired 1 week after reporting it. These incidents reinforced an atmosphere where speaking up seemed futile and dangerous. All right, Mr. Bayless begins to give Miss Faraji lingering hugs and kisses on the cheek while putting his body against hers and pressing against her breast. Now, that is, hey, fellas, we all know the hugs that we can and can't give certain women. You know the hug where you just kind of got your torso out and your arms out here, and then you got all the space in between. Like those are like hugs. Like, oh hey, how's it going? good to see you again. It's like a shoulder tap, and it's like a foot in the space, and you kind of like this. Those are the hugs you give at the workplace, or like let's say it was somebody who was out for medical reason and they come in and I'm like, hey, oh, how's it going? Most times I'm not giving any hugs out at work. Like that's just not a thing I do. I like, nah, your boy look like this, but I'm not stupid. But back in the day, you could do like the side hug. You could be like, oh, it's good to see you. Everything. Well, like y'all standing side by side, you like everything okay? But to give somebody at work a hug and there's no like arm space in between, and you just pressed up body to body, that's actually kind of crazy work. That's actually kind of crazy work. So if this is true, that's actually a wow. You generally shouldn't give nobody a hug at work anyway. I'd be like, hey, it ain't nobody at work I'm that cool with who I want to be hugging. It's very limited situations in my lifetime where I was like, I don't know, maybe if somebody was like retiring, I like, Ruthie from HR is retiring. Like, hey, God bless you on all your future endeavors, but you got to keep the space in between, like a church hug. All right. After reporting by the talk show host fell on deaf ears, Mr. Bayless began requesting that Miss Faraji give him a haircut once a week in the makeup room. Miss Faraji did as she was told, as Miss Peretti required Miss Faraji to give haircuts to the talent. Initially, during the haircuts, Mr. Bayless would discuss his life, his work at Fox, and other innocuous matters. However, soon after the weekly haircut started, Mr. Bayless began finding excuses to touch Miss Faraji. He would give her lingering hugs after each haircut, putting his body against her own, pressing against her cleavage. You know, you two be pressed sometimes. He then began to kiss her on the cheek. That's crazy work. Yeah, giving somebody a hug at work and kissing them on the cheek at work is crazy. And the other thing too is, I don't know. I think this is true. I actually asked someone this because I remember once I was working at a place and it was a situation that occurred where it was brought, as the leader, it was brought to my attention that someone had made inappropriate comments to another person. But the person who made the comment didn't bring it to me, or the person who the comment was made to didn't bring it to me. This is how I found out about it. My number two, my deputy, came up to me. I'm an attorney. My deputy was a non-attorney, but he was in the law enforcement arena. And the person who the comment were the person who the comments were made to were in the law enforcement arena. So they felt comfortable talking to, because they both were law enforcement carrying guns. They felt comfortable talking to each other. So inappropriate comment was made to law enforcement officer A. Law enforcement officer A tells my deputy, who's also a law enforcement officer. My deputy comes to me and he was like, hey, this is what's going on. So I'm like, okay, you're bringing this to me. I need to know. I need to know the who, what, when, where, and why. And it was one of those situations where, because me, I'm always going to err on this is the right thing. This is, if something gets reported, you have to tell it, because if you don't, it'll come back and bite you in the ass later. But it was one of those weird situations where we actually ended up having to have a conversation with this individual. It was all sorts of paperwork involved. And I remember having a conversation because this guy was older. He was like maybe in his late 50s. I don't know. I can't tell. This dude just looked old. He late 50s, early 70s. I don't know. He just looked old. But certain things that people say are creepier the older you get as a guy. Okay. As a guy, certain things you say are creepier. If a guy who's, I don't know, in his late 20s says a phrase to a woman like, oh, what's that perfume you're wearing? I really like that. That smells nice. And they tell you what it is. They're like, oh, okay, it smells nice. It really stood out. A woman may think nothing of that. Now, if a 70-year-old guy say that same thing, now, but some women will be like, hey, that's kind of creepy. So the litmus test for what's creepy is based on so many factors. in so many variables. It's based on who the person is who said it, what's the relationship between the person who said it and the person who didn't say it. It's just crazy. I'm gonna get back into the complaint, but I had a scenario. I lie to you not. I was at this was maybe about 2 months ago. It was about 2 months ago, and I was walking, and you ever walk and somebody walked by, and it was a woman. She walked past me, and her perfume smelled really good, right? And you know how if somebody walked past you, you don't smell the perfume until they're a little bit behind you. So I'm walking this way, they're walking this way, and I speak. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing?" She's like, "Oh, everything is good." And we walk past. Okay, both attorneys, we walk past. Now, when I see her, I don't smell the perfume because she's behind me. Then the perfume fragrance hit me as she passes, and so when I smell it, I don't know if this is normal, but when I smell it, I turn to look back. Now, this is how I know I look weird as hell. I look weird as hell. When I turned to look back, because I was like, damn, that smelled good. She walked past, the smell was going this way. So my nose followed the smell. I was like, damn, that smell good. That's a good. I was like, that smell good. When I turned and looked back because of the smell, she turned and looked back. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, my initial thought was like, oh man, this whole Me Too culture. So now here I am. She walking past me. I smelled the perfume. I turned and looked back. Why the hell is she turning and looking back? I'm smelling the perfume. She turned and looked back. And this is what my dumb ass did. I turned and looked back. And when she turned and looked back, I thought, oh man, if I turn right around, it's gonna look crazy. So my dumb ass went like this. This is what my dumb ass did. I'm walking. She walked past me. I turned and smelled the perfume. She turned and looked back. I was like, oh man, if I turn around, I'm gonna look creepy. My dumb ass did this. I did a complete 360. I did a complete 360 and then walked into my office. I look crazy as hell. In hindsight, I was like, bro, what the hell I was doing? But luckily, you know, we cool. We have a very professional relationship. And I was like, yo, I know I probably was looking weird, but the reason I spun around was and she just kind of laughed and it was just a non thing. But a look back like that under different circumstances could have you in HR's office, even though it was something that was nothing, something that was innocent. So, all compliments, all actions aren't created equal. It depends on who's doing it. It depends on what the relationships of the parties are. Two people can do the exact same thing to the same person, and one will be flattered. One scenario, that person will be flattered, and the other scenario, that person will report your ass to HR. So the moral of the story is don't say shit to nobody. All right, let's go ahead and jump back in this complaint so we can get through it. We almost through the facts. We almost through the facts. All right. Am I accidentally? All right, there you go. We got it up. All right, let's go ahead and jump back. Now, what the hell? Ah, sorry. My stuff here is tripping, man. Let's stop. Let's present. Share screen. We're gonna go here. Move that over. What the hell? Okay. I was like, what the hell? I was acting, that shit was acting crazy. All right, my bad. Let's go ahead and pick up on this complaint so we can get through this. All right. So Skip Bayless was getting his haircuts. He would discuss work, all that other stuff. He began finding excuses to touch Miss Faraji. He would give her lingering hugs after each haircut with no space in between, putting his body against her own, pressing against her. He then began to kiss her on the cheek. Crazy work, bro. kiss her on the cheek. Miss Faraji was uncomfortable by the physical contact and would even make excuses to leave right after the haircuts. I need to pick up my son from school, as an example. In approximately summer 2017, see, I knew this was 2017. It was just written out of order. In approximately summer 2017, while Miss Faraji was giving Mr. Bayless a haircut, he told her that she was voluptuous. As English is her second language and she was not familiar with the word, Miss Faraji asked what that meant. Mr. Bayless seemed amused and told her to figure it out. Miss Faraji later asked a coworker what the word meant and was mortified. Mr. Bayless then started being more aggressive and direct in his advances. Miss Faraji continually declined, stating that she did not date at work and she's a single mom and needed her job. Hold on. It is I need to. Did anybody see a picture of this? Did anybody see a picture of this woman? I'm just asking. I gotta know what you offering to pay allegedly 1.5 for. Let's see. Nushin Faraji. Let's go ahead and we just gotta. Hey, I'm just. We gotta be realistic about stuff here and see who's being offered what. Okay. 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 I mean, like, okay, Skip Bayless. I see. Okay, Skip Bayless. I see what you offering 1.5 for. Let me. I don't know if y'all seen the image of her. Let me pull the. Let me pull this image up real quick because we gotta get some context. We gotta get some context. This is the hairstylist right here. This Drip Bayless on a Friday. Guys look like him on his podcast. But okay, all right. We see. So we see what's going on here. We gotta put things in the context to see what we're working with. So okay, now we put it in the context. Let's get back to the lawsuit. But now we can get a little bit of insight into who Miss Faraji was, what she looked like, and why Drip Bayless allegedly offered 1.5 million. Okay, so she didn't know what the word meant. She was mortified. She went and told a coworker when she found out what the word meant. She was mortified. Mr. Bayless then started being more aggressive and direct in his advances. Miss Faraji continuously declined, stating that she did not date at work. She's a single mom and needed her job. Miss Faraji was terrified and then turned to her coworker to discuss the situation. The two decided that because Mr. Bayless was a powerful man and Fox protected powerful men, i.e., Mr. Dixon's actions were openly known but ignored, it would only be to her detriment to report the issue. The two decided that Miss Faraji needed to be kind towards Mr. Bayless or risk her job. As a single mother who relied on her job to support her son, Miss Faraji felt she had no choice. And I wonder who the coworker is. That's interesting. I want to know who the coworker is because in the other paragraphs, she expressly stated, "Oh, I had a conversation with Joy Taylor, and Joy Taylor was like, shut up, don't tell nobody, just deal with it." But this one, she just said coworker and left out who it was. Miss Faraji has her hours cut after going on medical leave. She hurt her back, couldn't move for 40 days, received workers' comp. And December 17th, when she returned from her leave, she was not provided full-time schedule and learned that her coworker, Miss Poretti, had promised her shifts to someone else. Miss Faraji called for union help. Her union informed her that Miss Poretti's actions would be illegal under the law. Miss Faraji then called Human Resources, who confirmed that she was entitled to her pre-leave schedule. On January 5th, 2018, Miss Poretti called Miss Faraji into her office. When Miss Faraji arrived, an individual from Human Resources was present and Miss Peretti was falsely explaining that Miss Faraji did not want her full-time schedule. Miss Faraji grew upset, explained that she did not want her full-time, she did want her full-time schedule, and further explained that Miss Peretti had been treating her poorly for years. She just went in there and spilled all the beans. Okay, Faraji then had multiple meetings with human resources where she explained that Miss Peretti yelled at her, made fun of her, and bullied her. Miss Peretti told Miss Faraji that she did not like her and could fire her at any time. She should have been left. Like, I get it, you got a son, but like, what? You should have been looking for jobs this entire time. She might have been. I don't know. There's nothing in here that says that. But I mean, I think that's pertinent to the lawsuit too. If I'm talking about how mortified and disgusted and how terrible this job I have is, as she's alleging, it will only help my complaint if I'm like, this job was so terrible. I literally went home every day and was applying to jobs, something that could pay me a comparable salary because I had to get the hell away from them people because they was all fucking crazy. Like, I think that would have been a key thing to add. All right. Miss Faraji remains on Undisputed and is asked to join the herd. In summer of 2018, Miss Taylor was moved from Undisputed to the herd with Colin Cowherd. Miss Taylor again requested Miss Faraji to do her hair. Colin Cowherd also requested Miss Faraji to do his hair. Thus, every day, Miss Faraji would do Mr. Bayless' hair for Undisputed, and then would do Miss Taylor and Mr. Cowherd's hair for the herd throughout her entire tenure at Fox. Mr. Cowherd was professional and respectful to Miss Faraji and her co-workers. Around this time, what? After leaving, that's weird. That last sentence is awkward. That last sentence is awkward because everything in this is talking about how everyone is doing something wrong, whether it's the person who hired her, whether they're stiffing on the hours, whether it's the executive trying to touch her. And then they talk about this transition where Joy Taylor goes from Undisputed to the herd. Joy Taylor brings her over. Joy and Colin both want this Miss Faraji to do their hair. So she's doing Skip Bayless hair, then she's doing Joy Taylor, then she's doing Colin's hair. And then it says out of nowhere, throughout her entire tenure at Fox, Mr. Cowherd was professional and respectful to Miss Faraji and her co-workers. That's just a random sentence that's out of place. I don't know. That's weird. It's weird when everything in this is about the wrongdoing that somebody did, but then there's one random sentence about the one person who was professional. I'm sure there were other people who were professional, but she didn't bring up any of them, but she brought up Mr. Cowherd. I don't know. That's interesting. It's just odd for it to be written that way. Around this time, after learning that Miss Taylor and Mr. Dixon Around this time, after learning of Mr. Taylor and Mr. Dixon's relationship, Miss Taylor, then fiance, broke off the engagement and threatened to go public with all that he knew on information and belief that Mr. Dixon paid for the wedding deposits in an informal exchange for her fiance's silence. Again, all allegedly here. Mr. Diaz racially and sexually harasses Miss Faraji. On May 10th, 2019, Bobby Diaz, Mr. Diaz, the individual who puts the microphone on the talent, mocks Miss Faraji's of her pronunciation of the English words and sexualized the way that she is eating fruit. Miss Faraji did not respond. She just kept her eyes glued on the monitor playing. Undisputed. Miss Peretti was present and did not do anything. On information and belief, Mr. Diaz openly gropes, harasses, and is inappropriate with women at Fox. On information and belief, Mr. Diaz has not been fired, reportedly due to his role in supplying drugs to numerous Fox employees and talent, even after an incident where he removed his pants on live camera. Whoa, that's crazy work. This dude is inappropriate, but he keeps his job because he's the plug, even after this dude removed his pants on TV. That's crazy. I mean, I used to watch FS1, but I think I remember some dude being butt naked. But if she said it happened, hey, it probably happened. Just was on this episode that I didn't see. But that's crazy. On information and belief on December 2024, after Ms. Faraji sent notice of this impending lawsuit to Fox, Mr. Diaz made a mockery of his discussions with human resources regarding his interactions with Ms. Faraji. He told various employees that Ms. Faraji was stupid, defiantly stated that despite being told not to speak about his discussions with human resources, he didn't care, saying, "Who gives a crap?" He further boasted that he would never be fired. Miss Taylor again uses her cheek clapping abilities to get on her show. This is you know, when it's weird because on the internet everybody is talking about Joy Taylor, like, oh, Joy Taylor clapped her way to the top, and it's like very few people talking about the Skip Bayless angle, the executive. So it is interesting because I don't know how could I put this, like it, there's from the way this is written, okay, is a few type of workplace things that occur from the way that this is actually written. It's either it could be one or two things. It could be a person in a superior position taking advantage of a person in a subordinate position because they have no choice. But it could also be a mutual thing where you have a person in a leadership position who has this quid pro quo with a person who's a subordinate. In exchange for the clappage, I get the clappage, you get the opportunities. Clappage for opportunity. So it's written that this is a clappage for opportunity, mutual exchange between the executive and between Joy Taylor. So, and hey, it's people out there sleeping with people on their job for overtime. So for overtime or for nothing at all, or for just the extra, I don't know, a free pair of shoes at the Foot Locker or something like that. So there's levels to these things, but this appears to be a mutual cheek clappers arrangement that's being asserted in this complaint. It doesn't appear to be a situation where the executive is completely exploiting Joy Taylor. It's like, okay, he's getting something out of the arrangement, she's getting something out of the arrangement. All right, Miss Taylor again uses her cheek clapper's ability to get on the show. In approximately February 2020, Miss Taylor asked Miss Faraji to meet her for lunch in Beverly Hills. When Miss Faraji arrived, she found Miss Taylor with the man, Emmanuel Acho. Mr. Acho, Miss Faraji did not know Mr. Acho, but could tell that the two were intimately involved. A few months after the meeting, a few months after meeting Mr. Acho at the lunch, Miss Faraji noticed him in the hallway while at work. Miss Faraji later asked Miss Taylor if Mr. Acho also worked at Fox. Miss Taylor confirmed and explained that she wanted Mr. Acho to eventually recommend her on the show Speak for Yourself. Miss Faraji became alarmed and warned Miss Taylor that she should probably not clap cheeks with Mr. Dixon and Mr. Acho simultaneously, as Mr. Dixon is a very powerful man that may become very angry. Miss Taylor told her not to worry about it. She explained that she was also now powerful, and once Mr. Dixon was no longer useful to her, she would follow through on her plans to tell the company that he forced himself on her, and she would not allow herself to be forced out by Mr. Dixon like other women talent. Okay, now that's interesting. Okay, I want to play a clip real quick. Hold on, I think I got it saved. I want to play a clip real quick because when you make comments and you have a YouTube channel and a podcast and you say things, the things that you say will come back out and be used because they may age well or they may age like wine or they may age like spoiled milk. So allegedly, according to this complaint, Miss Faraji is saying that, hey, not only is Miss Taylor in this quid pro quo relationship with Mr. Dixon and potentially Mr. Acho, she is also flexing her clappage muscle because she like, yo, they not gonna force me out because I'm gonna use the Me Too movement side of the game against them. So I'm going to be here for a long time because I'm empowered by my cheek clappers ability and to use the believe all women Me Too movement against him if he's trying to get rid of me. Now, let me find this clip real quick. I got it queued up because I want to make sure this is going to be an interesting clip because I was like, man, this did not age well at all. And when I saw this clip, I was like, the demeanor, all I'm saying is the demeanor of Joy Taylor to me seems to be one of an individual who would try to, she seems to me to be an individual who she makes stuff happen, but things don't happen to her. Let me go ahead and pull up this clip real quick. I'm gonna go to, let me see. You know what? I'm just gonna have to search for it. Give me 1 second. 1 second. That's gonna be the first clip that pop up. Let me see. Where is that? No, damn. I'm about to be mad. I can't find the fucking clip. It was a good ass clip too. Let me see. Not wanted. I can't fucking find the clip. It was a good ass clip. I'm pissed I can't find this clip. Hold on. Hold on. I think I might be able to find it. Let's go back. Let's go back. Okay, I think this is it right here. Okay, all right, yeah. This is a clip. This clip is an interesting clip, but this clip, in hindsight, it seems consistent with the assertion that Joy Taylor is using her cheek clapping ability as a show of force, and it's giving some consistent vibes. Even though this is a complaint, this is just allegations. We gotta wait till the answer come out. But y'all take a look at this clip. Let me go ahead, stop that share. Let me share. Share this screen. I think
it's fun to argue about. It's fun to talk about what you would do in this scenario, or would you leave the game if the seats were high, or if a man took you this place on a first date, what you would do. And I'm telling you, like, every interaction that I have with people now, in some way or another, these things come up. Can we just keep it a buck?
Hey, I'm just saying, Joy Taylor seems like the personality she gives on these podcasts, on her podcast, it does seem consistent with what's being asserted. But listen to this, because this definitely didn't age well considering this lawsuit.
If they're fine enough, if they're funny enough, or if their financial status is what you want, fine, funny, fucking money. You're throwing all boundaries, standards, all that shit you talked on Instagram about how you would never, and this woman ain't kick because women this and men this. You're moving forward. Hypotheticals have.
Hey, that probably isn't going to age well in light of the allegations that's going on. But those are the type of talking points that she has just trending all over the internet right now. So I thought that was interesting to point out, like, hey, sometimes the things you say will come back to bite you. All right, let's go ahead and finish up this lawsuit and get through it. All right. She noticed him at work. All right, on approximately September 2022, Mr. Taylor started to work on Speak, and Miss Taylor requested Miss Faraji to do her hair. Miss Faraji is targeted because of her ethnicity. At approximately 2020, Jane Doe, an employee at Fox, began demonstrating erratic behavior. One night at an informal dinner at Maestro's Steakhouse, she grew irrationally enraged with Miss Faraji and screamed, F you, you Persian blank. And dinner ended after Miss M broke a glass and threatened to harm herself. Following the dinner, Miss Faraji's co-worker, Anonymous, who is black, reported the incident to HR, explaining that she would not be okay with someone calling her a black bee. Anonymous also said that Miss Faraji reported the incident to Miss Peretti. Despite these reports supposedly being anonymous, Miss M learned of the reports and became increasingly unstable towards Miss Faraji. Approximately 6 months later, Ms. Faraji told Human Resources that she believed her life was in danger. Human Resources responded that Ms. Faraji should just leave the workplace when Ms. M was having an episode. That's crazy as hell. That's crazy as hell. After approximately a year and a half, Ms. M was fired. Ms. M's ex-boyfriend, a producer at Fox, shared that Human Resources gave Ms. M a large amount of money in severance. Ms. Faraji wondered why Fox rewarded her bully with money. Human Resources eventually apologized to Ms. Faraji, explaining they did not have experience with mental health issues. That's corny as hell. Human Resources offered Ms. Faraji free therapy. Ms. Faraji declined the free therapy, but began to see an independent therapist, Smart, once a week to discuss her life at Fox. Ms. Faraji continues to see the same therapist to this day. I would have sued them for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Ms. Faraji believes she has cancer, conveys this to Mr. Bayless in an attempt to stop his advances, only to have him offer $1.5 million for cheek clappage. That's overpriced. I don't know what the going price for cheek clappage is, but $1.5 million seems a little bit, that's like hyperinflation. Over the years, Mr. Bayless continued to make advances on Ms. Faraji, lingering hugs, kisses on the cheeks, and inappropriate comments that he could change her life if she acquiesced to having relations. Ms. Faraji would always make excuses regarding her son, politely change the subject, or make a joke. Anything to keep Mr. Bayless appeased and her job safe. In July 2021, Ms. Faraji developed issues with her left ovary, and it was advised that it could be cancer. With a fourth biopsy scheduled, she explained her situation to Mr. Bayless, hoping that these people talk to everybody too. Like, when you got a lot of stuff going on, like, you should just be writing contemporaneous notes as it happens. Somebody do some fuck shit, you write down the date, the time, as soon as you get home, or have a notebook at work, date, time, write it down so you can have a track record. It is pretty detailed with dates and times and events, but she tell a lot of people who too much that's going on. But I guess given the situation of she needs this job, single mom, she's just trying to keep everybody happy and juggle it so she don't get the pink slip. All right. So I get both sides, but generally, if she would have came to my office and was talking to me, I would be like, "Yo, you shouldn't tell all these people all of everything that's going on in your personal life. Just make contemporaneous notes of every instance. Every time you go to HR, you should be sending these. You should be having conversation with nobody. You should be. I know you should be sending emails to people because if you have an employment grievance, the best time to file it is when you are working there and the person who did the misconduct is working there. After you left, when the other person left, I'll be like, yo, you need to file this shit while you there, while he there. That's when this is going to have its best leverage to your advantage. Let's just be honest. Like, Skip Bayless is no longer at Fox. Fox, like, whatever. But if he was still on Undisputed and it was still popping right now, bringing this lawsuit, she would have so much legal leverage. All right, in July 2021, she developed this issue. She told Mr. Bayless, hoping that he would take pity on her and cease his advances. Instead, Mr. Bayless told her that he wanted to be with her. Ms. Faraji panicked and began rambling that there were cameras everywhere and that she has a child and that she does not want him. Mr. Bayless then grabbed her hands, began kissing them, and offered her $1.5 million to have cheek clappage with her. Ms. Faraji made an excuse to leave. Hey, round of applause for Miss Faraji. If these facts as alleged are true, hey, she's in dire financial straits and she's offered 1.5 million. She could have took the as alleged here, again, allegations. She could have took the Joy Taylor route and took the $1.5 million, did the cheek clapping session, and had her life completely changed. But she was like, nah, I held out. I don't know. If like your supervisor was like 30 years your senior, right? And they offered you like, hey, Mrs. Gertrude, who's a senior partner at the law firm, she was like, hey, Marcus, I see you working down here hard in litigation. You know, I could change your life. I'm gonna offer you 1.5 million if you just go through a cheek clapping session. Hey, I can't be bought. Okay, I'm a lead with I can't be bought. That's what I'm a lead with. That being said, I will probably have a conversation with some of my loved ones. Like, hey, I don't know. I may have to take them up on this indecent proposal. I'm just saying, $1.5 million in cash to clap the senior partner's cheeks. I'd be like, hey, I don't know. She came down and made an indecent exposure to me. I don't know if I'm going to decline it right away. I'm gonna need some time to mull this decision over. All right, let's go ahead and jump back into it. I'm just saying, $1.5 million. Like, I don't know. Most people, they already struggling financially. They're gonna be like, you know what? I'm gonna take the 1.5 million and keep it moving. So, shout out, a round of applause. Shout out to Miss Faraji. If these is alleged is true, shout out to her for not going the same route that she asserts Joy Taylor went, and for standing fast on her morals. Like, I don't know. If Miss Faraji had a boyfriend, if she would have told her boyfriend what happened, he probably would have been like, man, they doing all this to you at work. Like, yeah, you can finesse it though. So I think she took the right approach. The only thing I think that she did wrong from a filing standpoint, she should have filed this lawsuit when Skip Bayless was at his peak power. You filed it after he left the country. So now it loses its power, it loses its impact, it loses that you losing a significant amount of legal leverage that you had you would have filed this when Skip and Shannon were on Undisputed at their peak. Oh man, they'd have came out. If these allegations are true, they would have came out so fast and try to resolve this and move it forward to get it out of the way. So I think that's the big mistake that was made here. Even though these are just allegations, again, everybody's innocent or proven guilty. This shit should have been filed when Skip Bayless was working at Fox FS1 at the peak of his game. It should have been filed a year and a half ago. I think a year and a half ago. Prime leverage position would have been a year and a half ago. All right. So Mr. Bayless, he grabbed her hand, kissed it. She made an excuse to leave. Approximately 1 week later, Mr. Bayless made another advance at Miss Faraji. Miss Faraji responded, Skip, stop. You have a wife. Mr. Bayless responded, aren't you Muslim? Doesn't your dad have 3 or 4 wives? Whoa. That's wow. That. Hey, if that's true, that's a wild statement. Miss Faraji responded that her father was deceased, and when Mr. Bayless looked taken aback, she made an excuse to leave. Miss Faraji's job is threatened because she does not sleep with Mr. Bayless. Or April 2022. On April 12th, 2022, Mr. Bayless texts Miss Faraji, I'm good today. Hold on. When did the Okay, so this was in 2021 when he made the play in the advance for her and 1.5. Hold on, I'm looking. This is written. This is written hella weird. Miss Faraji believes she has cancer and conveys this to Mr. Bellis in an attempt to stop his advance, only to have him offer her $1.5 million. And I go through lingering. That's, yeah. All right, Miss Faraji's job is threatened because she didn't clap Mr. Bayless, didn't let Mr. Bayless clap her cheeks. Miss Bayless texted Miss Faraji, "I'm good today." That text meant that he would not be coming in for hair and makeup on April 13th, 2022. Uh, Mr. Bayless texts Miss Faraji, "Not comfortable coming down there. Just do what you need to do. It's okay." Miss Faraji asked him what was wrong. He replied, same stuff, worse. Miss Faraji, concerned about her own job, walked to Mr. Bayless' fitting room to see if everything was okay. Mr. Bayless answered the door, and before Miss Faraji could speak, he began to angrily accuse Miss Faraji of letting Shannon Sharp clap cheeks. Now, Miss Faraji tried to explain that she did not have any feelings toward Mr. Sharp and had never allowed him cheek clappage or any other talent member or employee at Fox. But before she could speak, Mr. Bayless demanded she come to his car after the show. Miss Faraji responded that she could not come sit in his car as it was inappropriate. Mr. Bayless grew irate and then left. On April 14th, 2022, Mr. Bayless texts Miss Faraji, if you're distracted tomorrow, I'll wait till Monday, but I can't keep doing this." Miss Faraji told him that she was very confused. Mr. Bayless responded, "Trust me, I'm far more confused." Miss Faraji explained over text that she is not allowing Shannon Sharp to clap the cheeks. Mr. Bayless did not respond. This dude hating. He sound like he hating. He just like that dude. I don't know. That's kind of crazy. Skip Bayless losing his mind. Like, man, you let him clap. Like that's what you say in eighth grade when like you like that's what like eighth graders say. Like, oh, but yeah, you let him get some. Like this is really crazy. Is this dude like, well, you let him do it, you should let me do it too. And she like, what? That's actually wow. On April 15th, Mr. Bayless texted Miss Faraji, "Do you still want to do the haircut or just move on?" Miss Faraji responded that she doesn't want to move on from her job and that she will continue doing his hair. On April 16th, Mr. Bayless called Miss Faraji, and Miss Faraji did not answer the call because she was scared. She then called him back 10 minutes later. On the call, Mr. Bayless again angrily accused Miss Faraji of clapping Mr. Sharp and said that he could tell from her body language that she was letting Shannon clap. Miss Faraji tried to explain this dude was obsessed. Yo, this dude, yeah, I see why FS1 ended abruptly now. Shannon was getting popular, and he thought Shannon was going around clapping cheeks that he couldn't clap, allegedly. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll end the show quickly. All right. She explained that she was kind to all talent. That included laughing and engaging in conversation. Miss Faraji then asked if he was uh, yelling at her because she refused to get in his car. Mr. Bayless answered that she couldn't talk to him like that. Miss Faraji replied that she could respond however she wanted. Mr. Bayless then angrily stated that she heard her talk to Mr. Sharp about her genitalia. Miss Faraji knew this to be untrue and was embarrassed and angry. That's giving crazy. Like, man, come on, give me some. I know you let this dude hit. I know you let this dude clap. Look at him. He was talking about it. I could smell it on him. That's crazy. Like, yeah, if this is true, that might be some dude was crazy jealous if this is true. But again, all allegations. She knew this to be untrue and was embarrassed and angry. Miss Faraji responded that even if she had been letting Mr. Sharp clap, which she wasn't, it shouldn't matter at all because she had only a professional relationship with Mr. Bayless. The other thing that's interesting is I'm sure they know these text messages occurred because she probably still has these text messages on her phone or on her device or screenshotted them or something. Like, I'm actually shocked that she didn't like record this conversation. Like, conversations can be recorded. Like, I'm actually shocked that she didn't record this conversation. And for all we know, I'm gonna just be honest, it probably is a recording out there somewhere. Recordings have a strange way of coming to the surface when the allegations are thrown out there. All right, on April 17th, 2022, Miss Faraji arrived in the makeup room, approximately 12 feet by 30 feet, containing 3 makeup and hair sections. Turned on the recording device and put it on the table and waited for Mr. She turned on the recording device. I literally just said that. I didn't read this No cap. I did not read this complaint at all. That's hilarious that I said that. I'm surprised she didn't record it, and that was the next sentence. I no bull. I did not read this at all. She turned on a recording device, put it on the table, and waited for Mr. Bayless to arrive. In the meantime, two of Miss Faraji's co-workers who were privy to Mr. Bayless' actions went into other talents' rooms adjacent to the makeup room to listen in on the conversation. Mr. Bayless then arrived in the makeup room for Miss Faraji to cut his hair in accordance with his regular schedule. Uh, Mr. Bayless knew that the makeup room was always recorded and clearly states this room is bugged. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So if he knew this room was okay, he knew this room was the makeup room room was always recorded and clearly states this room is bugged. During the conversation, Mr. Bailey stated that he would hate for her to lose her job, but she can't be doing a big thing with my arch rival. Man, that's crazy. This dude had some it sounded like this dude had some major envy going on. That's actually giving mad insecure. Mr. Baylor stated that he would hate to lose a job, but you can't be letting my arch rival clap and then not letting me clap. She responded by reiterating that being polite to Mr. Sharp is part of her job. Mr. Bayless responded, bull crap, bull crap, bull crap. I'm calling bull crap on you. Mr. Bayless warned that he doesn't want her to lose her job over this. Miss Faraji responded that she wasn't going to lose her job because she is a great hairdresser. Mr. Bayless responded, I have love for you and I have 6 years and you hurt me and you are ruining this. Miss Faraji again responded that she must be polite to all talent. Mr. Bayless then implied that if he stopped requesting her, it would affect her job. Miss Faraji responded that she is scheduled to work every morning at 5:45 a.m. And if he would like to get his hair done, he is welcome to sit in her chair. Mr. Bayless continued to threaten her job. Miss Faraji knew that he was trying to pressure her into letting him clap, but she kept repeating that she was professional and that had to be kind. She had to be kind to all talent. On the 21st of 2022, Mr. Bayless asked Miss Faraji if he would come to his home to color his hair as a side job. Miss Faraji previously would partake in when Mr. Bayless' wife was home. On this occasion, with her therapist's help, she conveyed that she would no longer be going to his home. The following week, Mr. Bayless arrived in the makeup room as if their conversations never happened, but Miss Faraji remained on edge. Miss Faraji had worsening nightmares regarding the incidents that took place with Mr. Bayless. Miss Faraji's therapist using eye movement desensitization and reprocessing to talk her through interactions with Mr. Bayless. Miss Faraji is targeted because of her ethnicity and disability. I think these I'm just skipping through because this is kind of getting repetitive. Ms. Faraji participates in internal investigation only to be singled out, taken off the speak, and accused of clapping cheeks with Mr. Bayless. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, so yeah, let's read this one. This is okay, it's not that long. All right, this is getting to the we about to close this out. We getting to the meat and potatoes of what's going on in this allegation. All right. It's about to close out. So y'all just hang tight. We about to get through this one. All right, Miss Faraji participates in an internal investigation only to be singled out, taken off speak, and accused of clapping cheeks with Mr. Bayless. In mid-July 2023, Anna Drunker, Fox Sports Vice President of Employee Relations, asked Ms. Faraji for a meeting. At the meeting, Ms. Drunker asked if Ms. Taylor was having a relationship with Mr. Acho. Ms. Faraji admitted that the two were in a relationship. Ms. Faraji shared this information because she didn't think it was a big deal, i.e., Ms. Taylor and Mr. Acho had similarly amounts of power at the time, and because she didn't think Ms. Taylor or Mr. Acho would physically harm her for providing this information, Mr. Acho had always been respectful to Ms. Faraji and has never threatened or hurt her. Interesting. And typically if I'm called into a room and somebody asks me what I know about something that's not pertaining to me, I'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Why would I know something about that? Why would I know something about two other people? But she said she told what she knew. On the 31st of 2023, Kelsey Doe, an employee relations, asked Ms. Faraji for a meeting. At the meeting, Ms. Doe told Ms. Faraji that there had been complaints of her humming. Ms. Faraji explained that her humming is an involuntary subconscious coping mechanism for her diagnosed PTSD and that everyone at Fox knew she hummed. Ms. Faraji further explained that she has been humming since she was a child and had been humming her entire tenure at Fox. I do humming a lot too. Her humming was exacerbated in stressful situations, not in stressful situations though. And although she hates it and wants it to stop, she does not even realize when she is humming. Ms. Faraji further explained that if anyone was now complaining, they were only doing so to hurt or embarrass her. Ms. Doe thanks Ms. Faraji for her information, abruptly changed the conversation, and quickly asked whether she has made public comments regarding Mr. Dixon and Ms. Taylor having an intimate relationship. Ms. Faraji became very scared, and Mr. Dixon had previously assaulted her, and Ms. Taylor had warned her that he would fire her if she said anything, and responded that while everyone in the company knew about their relationship, she didn't have any information and did not want to comment about it. Ms. Doe then tried to end the conversation and asked if Ms. Faraji had any questions. Ms. Faraji then began crying, asking why such swift investigation took place regarding the humming, but no one cared about M's threatening to kill her or others mocking her English. Ms. Faraji then explained that all she wants is a safe, normal working environment, but everyone mistreats her because there are no consequences for them. While she focused on others mocking her English, and she was thinking of her interactions with Mr. Dixon and Mr. Bayless. On August 3rd, 2023, Ms. Peretti told approximately 8 of Ms. Faraji's co-workers and associates with Ms. Faraji as she had a pending case with Human Resources. Ms. Faraji was confused as from her perspective, she did not have a pending case with Human Resources. Employee Relations had only called her in to ask her questions regarding Ms. Taylor. On August 9th, 2023, Ms. Peretti told Ms. Faraji that her services were officially no longer needed on Speak. Ms. Faraji's diary entry for that day states that they are only taking me off the show because I reported Joy after I reported that they took me off the show. This must be illegal. On the 21st of August, 2023, Kim Bavias, Ms. Bavias of Fox Sports Executive Vice President of Human Resources and Business Operations, and Ms. Drunker and Mr. Bayless asked for a meeting. When Mr. Bayless arrived, Ms. I don't know, is that Beavis? I don't know how to pronounce that. Beauvoir? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. And Ms. Drunker told Ms. Bayless not to worry and that his job was safe. The two then started interrogating him on whether he had a romantic relationship with Ms. Faraji and whether she had offered to let him clap. When Mr. Bayless responded truthfully that she had never offered him any cheeks, they again told him not to worry about his job. It was safe, heavily implying that they wanted him to say otherwise. This circular conversation took place for approximately 20 minutes. Following the meeting, Mr. Dixon called Mr. Bayless and asked why he didn't just lie. Mr. Bayless responded that he cares about Ms. Faraji, and Mr. Dixon responded, "Who cares? I can get you a better looking hairstylist." The investigation is indicative of the role of Human Resources and Employee Relations, a protector of abusers and wrongdoers. Yeah. Shortly after this promotion, Ms. Faraji noticed that he was at Fox early morning, and Ms. Faraji asked him why he was in so early, and he responded that he was now producing a show because our great boss, Charlie Dixon, who has the power to do it, has made me a producer. Ms. Faraji asked, "That's all you need, a powerful man? You don't need experience?" Mr. Tijami previously responded, "Yes, that's correct, Machine." All right. Mr. Dixon wants her fired. Too long, so we're going through this. Ms. Faraji, let it be known that she still support a co-worker. Ms. Faraji is fired. On June 2024, a talent member disclosed that Mr. Faraji on Undisputed was going to be canceled and that Mr. Bayless was going to be fired. Ms. Faraji grew intently anxious that Mr. Dixon was trying to get her fired. Later that week, Monday, Miss Faraji gave Mr. Bayless a haircut. During the haircut, Mr. Bayless told her about a new opportunity he was expecting outside of Fox. Miss Raji asked if he would still be coming back to Undisputed, and he replied, of course. Mr. Bayless then told Miss Faraji that he fantasizes about blah, blah, blah. Miss Faraji stated that she had already refused 1.5 million and that the answer wasn't going to change. Mr. Bayless replied, the more you say no, the more I want you. Undisputed is canceled. Mr. Dixon uh, is in the parking lot at Mr. Bayless told Miss Faraji, F Charlie, if you want to sue them, go for it. F them. So yeah, this was an absolute shit show. Life after working with defendants. Okay. So she is clearly seeking a big ass monetary compensation for this lawsuit. Um, I don't know. I will tell you, I think this complaint is pretty detailed when it comes to times who had what conversations. Um, I think that she's able to talk about text messages and specifically quote text messages is probably because she has photocopies of the text messages. I would be willing to bet money because normally when people experience stuff like this, as a matter of course, they like to record conversations. It's just something that's normal. So I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of these communications between her, Bayless, all these other people are recorded. And let's see, it's real quick before we get out of here. Let me see if California is a one party or two party consent. I'm assuming they might be two. Let's see. Let's see. One party consent to record states. All right, let's pull this map up. I'm about to give y'all some. Y'all probably already know this because y'all high speed. But let's see. California is okay. I figured that because California real left and goofy with it. Let me pull this map up just so y'all can see. Then we're gonna get out of here. But yeah, this lawsuit is wild. It's an absolute shit show. There's clearly dysfunction going on at this organization in some capacity for this to be even the case, or this lawsuit to even come into fruition. I think it was smart of her to stand on her morals and not take the 1.5 million because filing this lawsuit, she has the potential to get a much larger payday. The big flaw with this lawsuit is this lawsuit should have been filed prior to Skip Bayless departing Fox because she loses political leverage. Or she could have did the ultimate hustler finesse. She could have took the 1.5 and filed the lawsuit. She could have took the 1.5 allegedly and filed the lawsuit. But I want to pull this up so y'all can see what states one party record jurisdiction and what states aren't. So normally, you can see the dark blue states are where all parties have to have consent to record. So you can't record somebody without them knowing. But the light blue states are one party consent states, and the mixed line are mixed consent states. So California, all parties need to, and normally liberal states, you need all party, non-liberal states, you just need one party to record. The general rule that is always told to like attorneys and a lot of professionals is you should always communicate as if every conversation is being recorded because you never know when you are being recorded. But yo, this is absolutely crazy. We're not even all the way 1 month in, and the crazy ass lawsuits, even though this is a state case, is still coming into fruition. So I'm interested to see if Skip Bayless has something interesting to say. But if you get a chance, check out Marcellus Wiley's YouTube channel. He corroborates a lot of the facts related to Joy Taylor and her relationship, or the rumors surrounding her relationships with persons on the set. And it is what it is. Hey, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Tomorrow we're gonna get back to something a little more entertaining and less structured. And I'm gonna be honest, this one took a lot out of me. Y'all take care, be blessed, have a good evening. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Peace.